Once Human got a potential new roadmap. We'll look at all the details there of the Visual Wheel Season 1, which is being labeled Starfall Inversion. We'll also go over some things that were recently removed, what the status is on all of that, and the new update and hotfix, which will lead us on to some additional rewards that you could snag right now. And then last up, we'll cover some community mentionables, as well as teasers for future cosmetics. We got a ton to talk about. What's up, world? It's Utopia, back with another video. Today we're checking out all things Once Human. Let's just jump right into it. Okay, so first off here, we have that future roadmap, the Visual Season 1, which yes, finally did get its name, Starfall Inversion. And they mention just that, where it got its name from, inverted star draws near. Basically, it makes sense from that teaser image here that we've seen a ton. Again, I showcased this in a previous video, but they say a colossus shattered star looms in the heavens, its gravitational tide sweeping across Nalcott. They go on to say that under their influence, objects and structures on the surface begin to rise uncontrollably. Yet amid the chaos lie hidden challenges, treasures, and lots of fun. They also do mention, are you ready to ascend into the sky? Now this new event actually has a pretty long roadmap here, or at least a pretty long duration. They are mentioning here that it's going to be affected scenarios for Manibus, Evolution's Call, Prison vs. Clash, The Way of Winter, not including novice servers. Now surprisingly here, there is no and. I don't know if that's intentional. Typically when you have your commas here, you do have an and, so there might be room for a new scenario that we get sometime soon. I know I've featured this a bunch, but they do have their development plan and roadmap. Now we went over this, a lot of things that did end up getting pushed back. Usually happens with a lot of roadmaps, things kind of get delayed through there, but it just lays out what we're seeing for the future. A lot of this stuff did come to fruition and did actually get released. Of course in April they did make their mobile release date. Now here they labeled the Visual Wheel Season 2, but I believe they meant Season 1, as they technically considered Lunar Oracle Season 0 and just the start of it. It seems like that was kind of just like a pre-alpha state or beta state for the Visual Wheel. As this actual Season 1 of the wheel, or what they're labeling it, I believe that means this is going to be a much larger update here, and an event that actually really changes the landscape of things. Again, a ton of stuff here with the roadmap, custom servers we didn't get just yet, the new scenarios supposed to be in May, but it looks like it's going to be in June. There's also going to be some Way of Winter optimizations. But in any case, I believe that's kind of why they didn't put the and instead of the commas. Since this is lasting all the way to September, it more than likely is going to be involved with the new scenarios, and that event will probably tie into those new scenarios. Although again, not 100% sure there, you probably might be able to pick one without the tag. In any case, we'll have to see what happens there. However, they actually do outline a lot of the gameplay changes and adjustments there for this new scenario. So they do go over an actual schedule for this, where they say the inverted star approaches Nalcott daily. They say from 9 AM to 9 PM in-game, about 30 real-world minutes. So around 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off, and then it will go back and forth. So this event is happening rapidly, or more so than the Lunar Oracle, where the actual gameplay changes are as follows. They have the aerial zones they're calling, where structures get pulled skyward, creating floating exploration areas. You can use the floating energy rings to zip through the sky, so there is some sort of flying mechanic there, or at least floating in this case. You can also get something called a gravity crystal, and you'll get those by hunting for Star Advent loot crates. Or there's also something called the Unstable Aggregate, although they do mention you will have to be aware of gravity warped deviants in your path. Now aside from those floating rings, the stellar levitivity will actually be low gravity, so you'll have higher jumps and extended airtime. You'll also be completely immune to fall damage with a boosted load capacity, which does make a lot of sense there, so you'll be able to carry a lot more. And no fall damage does sound pretty nice. There's some pretty cool traversing that you can do. There's going to be some new crafting formulas for enhanced aerial gear, and I will go over those in a bit. Or last up, there is a new plunge attack, where you can unleash a devastating high-altitude melee dive, target, descend, and smash. That's going to be kind of cool in PvP. In a bit here, I'll also go over some of the murky details around PvP. So first up here, for the gear sets. We have one being labeled the Gravity Tide, or one piece will increase your jump height. The 2-piece set gives you a better magazine capacity. 3-piece is going to get you reduced deviance while airborne, and you'll even get a damage boost after being midair, with the 4-piece set giving you an even larger midair movement damage boost. Now there is going to be some new mods with this as well, or essentially if a target is beneath you, you'll get crit damage, elemental damage, weapon damage, and a status damage boost. So that's some new mods. Those both apply to the pants and the shoes. On top of adding new mods, they're also going to be adding some cradle adjustments, or of course there's going to be some new effects updated for the Visual Wheel. Now you might have asked earlier, what are gravity crystals? Well, again, you earn those either in the Star Advent or Unstable Aggregate crates, and you can also get it by defeating gravity warp deviants. They don't give a ton of details on it, but it will be some special items, build parts that you can craft. You will, however, have to unlock those formulas. They do, however, go over some survival items they're adding, a gravity neutralizer, which is a toggleable device that allows you to hover in place by holding, jump, or hover when aiming. Now, it does say this is both Rosetta and Mayfly tech. Not sure if that's going to matter in Prism vs. Clash, they don't really outline that. But since it's both factions, you should be able to craft it no matter what. There's also a gravity tuner, where you can temporarily nullify the low gravity. And again, that one is reusable, toggleable on and off at will. So you can essentially remove the gravity if you want to, or hold the gravity in place. Now, they do cover one of the crafting parts with the gravity crystals. This is only for construction, though, where they say there is an anti-gravity foundation. Now, people used to do this before, but you can actually make your foundation float. And it even mentions here you can create a sky city. This is compatible with the ceiling cosmetics. However, they do mention that the crystals are not refunded on demolition. So you will need to be very, very careful when placing items. That also does leave me a bit confused for how Prism vs. Clash is going to go, especially since you can just make your base out of sight at this point. Again, I'll go over the PvP details in a bit. Also, during this invasion, vehicles can jump higher and stay afloat longer, and there will be no durability loss from high altitudes. So your vehicles will even last longer overall. Now again, with those Starfall treasures, which are loot crates and aggregates, as they say, again, special items, haven't really defined that there. There's some recipes, animal skins, and deviations within those. And the aggregates have a chance for a Downstar mod and gravity tied gear. Those are some additions to what you can collect there. And if you also are collecting gravity crystals, there's going to be a Starfall collection event. That's going to have some weapon skins, charms, avatars, and unique collection items tied to it. There will be a weekly cap, though, on that crystal progression, with extra crystals that can be used for past season redemptions. Although they do mention there will be limits applied. And that will apply to the past Visional Wheel seasons. So anything from the Lunar Oracle, and I'm guessing the Crimson Moon event, but anything within there you should be able to grab. Now here for the final detail, you might be wondering what is going on with the servers, the scenario schedules, all of that here. Well, first off, all Visional Wheel tagged servers will be auto-switched to a Starfall Inversion. So it doesn't matter if you're on a permanent server or a server that you're just essentially staying on. It doesn't matter either way, that will be converted from a Lunar Oracle to a Starfall Inversion. They did mention this before, that all permanent servers will be auto-swapped with their events. And if your server doesn't have any Visional Wheel tag, don't worry, it still will not have this one either. They do mention that any Lunar Oracle effect, Lunar Whispers, will stop completely. Those will go away. So once this goes live, you will no longer have access to that. Now here's the big kicker. What's going on with PvP? I know I still have some PvP fans out there, including myself. I do prefer the PvP scenarios. They do mention here that most PvP servers will not have the Visional Wheel tag. However, there will be some that do have it. So they mentioned if you want to have some 0G fun, then you can pick a PvP server with the Visional Wheel tag. And they're not going to balance anything on that one, so that melee attack from above might be really strong. Either way, they're going to leave that alone just for the fun of it. Now, I know I mentioned this earlier, essentially with the new scenarios might be receiving this tag. It does say here that Starfall Inversion is unavailable in the new beta scenario, but I just believe they mean the PTR test one, although maybe they do mean for the new scenario that is coming out soon. They did mention those would technically be considered an early access stage, but they didn't call them a beta outright. I'm not exactly sure what they mean there, if they mean the PvP demo test or anything like that. They don't really clarify that here, so we'll just have to wait and see. That does cover it for the Lunar Oracle and the Visional Wheel Season 1 update. There is some additional updates here. We had a hotfix. Now with that hotfix, they've already fixed some of the issues here. They have that outlined right here, where they mentioned there was some chat box lag. That has now been fixed, so if you've had any chat box issues, that should be good. There are a few other things in progress here, like team looting and experience acquisitions. The major one here, though, is the Crimson Moon event is now missing. If you notice, that event has been temporarily removed due to a data error, and will be reinstated after the issue has been resolved. It is still gone as of today, even though this was updated on the 9th, so still no notes there on when it's going to be coming around. When they do update that, of course, I'll let you guys know. Now, I know I did mention I was going to give you guys some teasers on upcoming cosmetics. This is actually a bit of insider intel, but this does come from one of my subscribers, who is Miss Kasumi, and she did some co-dev feedback and kind of talked with the devs through that platform. I've brought this up a million times, as you can contact them for support, or just give them feedback in general and ideas. Well, Miss Kasumi actually recommended that they work on some swimsuits for the summer season, and of course add some various styles. Now the devs actually did read the feedback and they responded here, where they go on to say, "Nice one, we have accepted your suggestion and officially started developing." They say, "Please note the actual release date for the content will be adjusted according to the design, and they'll make agile optimizations based on subsequent feedback." So yes, it does look like we're going to be getting some swimsuit wear for the summer season. This worked really well for the first Descendant, so I see it working here as well. So shout out to Miss Kasumi, who actually presented this suggestion to the devs, and they're actually taking her advice here. I think that's so awesome how receptive devs are, and even taking a person's suggestions. So we should see some summer swimsuit wear sometime soon here. We had 2 other last minute mentionables here. We have a new check-in reward that you can get today. That is the Fabled Masamune, or you can snag that today just simply logging in. And then last up here, there is another event that's outside of the game, but it does show up inside the game as well, where you can claim some additional rewards here, where you can link the Flame of Hope and get the Eternal Flame starter pack upon logging in. You can also invite some friends here and get some additional rewards. It does end here very soon, I believe on May 15th. I'll include a link to it down below if you do want to check that out and get some potential last minute rewards. Overall, that's about covered for today's video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and until the next one. Deuces.